So when I started designing my game, I needed to figure out for a start on how to make good mobile game controls that anyone can pick up and start playing. So when I started trying to figure out a solution, I looked at a lot of different mobile apps and how they use their controls. You shouldn't treat mobile as an existing input. You should treat it as a new input. So since I was making a new game, I decided I don't want to treat it as an existing input and have lots of buttons that cover the screen and make the game feel clunky. I want it to feel new and anyone could pick it up and play. When I was looking, I saw a game called Smashy Road. There's a lot of other mobile games that do the same thing as well, but you hold left on the left side of the screen, it turns the car. You hold on the right side of the screen, it turns it right. So in the combination, you can move left and right just by tapping on different sides of the screen. I found this very interesting and really easy that anyone could pick it up. And for my game, it was just a platformer. You move left, you move right, and you jump. I want to incorporate 2 buttons to perform 3 inputs, moving left and moving right and jumping. When I was doing that, I decided that I can use the buttons. The left side moves left and the right side moves right. But then I figured out that you can make the user press both the buttons. It will cause the player to jump, which makes it super simple and doesn't allow for a third button. It makes it just easy and less complicated using less inputs. And you could perform, let's say, a slam when you press the jump button. Well, there is no jump button. It's basically just 2 buttons, but if you press them again while you're in the air, you can perform a slam or something. Or you can double tap the right input to do a dash in that direction, or same with the left. Basically, that's 2 buttons that perform 6 inputs. I found that very interesting. I think it's actually really cool that you can perform so many different actions with so less controls, but at the same time, it doesn't clunk up the screen. It's not cluttered. It's easy, and the user has lots of different ways that they can tap on the screen that will perform the same action. I find that very helpful when you're trying to design for mobile and having it so users can easily interact with your game. So when incorporating mobile controls in your own projects, I would take it in some considerations, like what type of game you're making and how you're going to make it so the player can interact, and how much of the screen you're going to be allocating to those controls, and how you're going to allow the player to interact with it. And I find that that's what it really comes down to. When you are building a desktop game, it's a lot harder to port to mobile, especially when you have tons of controls that the player can use on desktop, and just on a little screen on mobile, it's going to be a lot more difficult. So I think building the game from ground up on mobile is definitely a lot easier. Since mobile is it's a platform that's very minimal, it makes it super easy to port back to desktop or console because it is minimal. There is some exceptions though, especially with if you're making some kind of RTS game on mobile and you're trying to port it to console, that is a lot harder because you can't really select certain parts of the screen. It would be more clunky on a console, but usually when you're porting, it's definitely a lot easier from going to mobile to desktop than desktop to mobile. So that's some considerations you have to take in. It's definitely not the same for every game. Every game will be different, but some of the most innovating mechanics or innovating games just change up their controls to innovate it. Like even VR, the controls are so different that every game is just way different on VR than anything else, because you're able to perform so much more actions with less having to think. So VR, you can definitely do a lot more than, let's say, doing a PC game. But there is some considerations when making your project, and you kind of just have to figure out what's your scope and what's your plan and how you're going to be able to have the player interact. But it's crazy how you can just change the controls and it will change how the players interact with the game and how they feel about the game. Because games with clunky controls or something like that, they don't really do well unless the game is based around that. The game is like a party game that's supposed to have clunky controls and make it hard to do interactions, and you just all have a lot of fun trying to figure out how to do it together, then yeah, it's totally based for that. But it's kind of just how you want your users to play the game is how you design your controls. So remember that you need to design your controls around that, and that's basically how you are going to be able to create controls. If you're doing it for mobile, I would especially say keep it simple. Try to make it so it doesn't cover much of the screen like what I said earlier, and that the players are able to interact and pick up and play easily. If they're not able to figure out the controls all the way within like a couple minutes after playing, maybe you should reconsider the controls. But sometimes that happens even with a lot of bigger games, but you just need to make sure it's simple and the users are able to play and be able to do their actions accordingly. If you're interested in my game, links down in the description. It's on Twitter. It's not out yet. It is going to be coming soon. It's going to be on Windows, Google Play, maybe Linux, and HTML. So check that out if you're interested, and thanks for watching. See ya.